Hi class, Coach Day, and this video is going to be over the notes that say solve one-step equations. You can print this out off Google Classrooms, or if you don't have a printer at home, or if you prefer to do this on notebook paper, you do this on notebook paper. So, inverse operations. Inverse means opposite. So, the opposite of addition is subtraction. The opposite of subtraction is addition. Opposite of positive is negative. And since these are opposites, it'll work over here too. Multiplication, the opposite of multiplication is division. The opposite of division is multiplication. And the opposite of negative is positive. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to use inverse operations or the opposite operations so that we can solve for unknown values. Now, let's look at this first box. It says the inverse operation of addition. Well, the inverse operation of addition is subtraction. So what we're going to do, x plus 5 equals 8. What we're going to have to do to figure out what x is, we're going to have to do the opposite of plus 5, which is minus 5. So just underneath, show your steps. Positive 5 and negative 5, they cancel, boom, and so all that's left on the left side is x. And then 8 minus 5 is 3. So for the first one, x equals 3. Now to check it, all we have to do is plug it back in. So we just do 3 plus 5, and 3 plus 5 equals 8, and x plus 5 equals 8. So we just checked it, boom. Now, second one, I want you to try that on your own. Over here, we're going to move on to this box. The inverse operation of subtraction is addition. So on these, since it says minus, what we're going to have to do to get rid of them is add. So x minus 5, we're going to add 5. Those cancel. Whenever you have the same number, that's a negative and a positive, it's always going to go to 0. That's when you're adding and subtracting. So this is x, and then 8 plus 5 is 13. This one, just try that one on your own. Now, what could get tricky and trip up some of you guys is when we get to this third box, the inverse of a negative. Well, the inverse of a negative is a positive, right? So on this, if you're adding a negative, to get rid of it, we're going to have to add a positive. So on this first one, negative 5 plus x equals 8. What we're going to have to do is add 5, because we want to get this x all by itself. Those cancel, and I get x is equal to 13. And once again, we can check it. Let's do negative 5 plus 13, and that does come out to 8. Each time, if you're unsure, just plug it in. You can use a calculator to check your work. Now, let's move on to the bottom. We're going to try now to move the factor by multiplying or dividing or using the reciprocal. So the inverse operation of multiplication is division. Whenever you see a number touching a letter, that's multiplication. This number is called the coefficient. So the opposite of multiply is divide. So instead of multiply by 5, we'll divide by 5. You're always trying to get rid or move the number that's over by x. These cancel, and I'll get x is equal to 30 divided by 5, which is 6. Now to check it, we just plug it back in. 5 times 6 equals 30. You can try this one on your own. It's going to work out very similar. Now the inverse of division is multiplication. So whenever you see a fraction bar, remember that's also your divide sign. So the opposite of divide by 5, we're going to multiply by 5 to get those to cancel. what you do to one side, you have to do the other. We get x is equal to 35. Try that one on your own. Now, this last one, if we multiply by the reciprocal, what's going to happen is we will get rid of our fraction. This is the one that usually trips people up. So, for example, reciprocal literally means flip that fraction. So, the reciprocal of this fraction 1/3, if we flip it, we would get 3 over 1. The reciprocal of negative 1/4 would be negative 4 over 1. And all we're going to do is multiply by the reciprocal to get rid of the fraction. That is only when you have a whole fraction, a numerator and a denominator, touching a coefficient. So, 1/3 times 3 over 1. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do the other, equals negative 4 times 3 over 1. Oh, sorry, this side also had an x. Don't leave out your x. These right here, they're going to cancel because 3 times 1 is 3, 1 times 3 is 3. 3 divided by 3 will give us 1. And then 1 times x is just x. I'm just showing you this to see why all of this cancels and all you have left on the left side is x. Now when I do negative 4 times 3, I get negative 12, and that's over 1, and anything divided by 1 is itself. So we get x is equal to negative 12. This one, I'm going to do it with you. Just so we can see it again, the reciprocal of negative 1 over 4 is negative 4 over 1. So we're going to multiply this side by negative 4 over 1 and this side by negative 4 over 1. When I multiply these two, they cancel and just give me x. When I do negative 4 over 1 times 2, put it over 1, multiply across, negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. 1 times 1 is 1, negative 8 over 1, which simplifies down to negative 8. I know this video was longer than normal, but I'm going to post the more practice answers and the answers to each of these other ones in your Google Classroom notes, so you guys can check answers after you've tried them, and then I want you to work the homework on your own. All right, good luck.